Hey guys, we are live. All right, welcome to Calm Belly TV. I see myself, fabulous. Okay, so this is a live special edition of Calm Belly TV on a special day. We're usually here on Wednesday, and it's a mini workshop to teach you how to create your personal FODMAP testing timeline to do the reintroduction phase. All right, so you're going to learn how to customize the reintroduction process to fit your schedule and your lifestyle. You're going to learn exactly how the process should work, like how many days should you wait between test foods. There is more than one option. And you're going to learn when to adjust your testing timeline, when to make modifications. All right, so that's what we're going to cover today. All right, if you're new to me, I'm Julie O'Hara. My website is calmbellykitchen.com. And I'm a health coach who specializes in helping women manage IBS with the FODMAP diet. No deprivation, no stress, just managing your symptoms so you can feel better than ever. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's see, do we have any more bits of business to cover? All right, I see people are already hopping on live. Looks like everything is working. If you're here live, go ahead and say hi or give me a little thumbs up if everything's working well on your end. You know, I'm always slightly nervous about technology and internet gremlins and whatnot. So say hi, tell me, put in the chat just so we know. Are you at the stage where you're ready to start the reintroduction process? It's totally okay if you're not, if you're new to things, but feel free to say hi and tell me what is going on with you. And if you're watching the replay and you have questions about anything in this mini workshop, feel free to leave your question in the comment, but tag me just to make sure I don't miss your question. All right, checking my notes. Okay. So I'm just going to get right into the content, and because this is a mini workshop, we're focusing on teaching you something really, really actionable, all right? So we're focusing on this one area, the actual nuts and bolts process of the reintroduction phase. So I have some slides, which, you know, I love slides. I think it helps you kind of really narrow down to the key points of everything. It keeps everything on track. So I'm going to pull those up in a second. Let's see what else. The presentation, this whole thing is going to last about 30 minutes tops, including a Q&A. So if you're watching live and questions come up during this, or you have a question that you want to ask, save it up for the end and I will answer all your questions. I will also, after all the content, I will tell you how you can get more support to go forward with the reintroduction phase. All right. And if you're doing something else while you're watching this, which of course we all do, I'm totally guilty of it, take the time to come back and have your notebook, have your computer open, and actually write out your plan for the reintroduction phase based on this workshop. Because this is stuff you can use, and if you really wanted to, you could start as soon as tomorrow. So knowledge without action is no good, so I would love to see you take action. And then come back and tell me how it goes, and what you got out of the workshop, and if it helped you, and if you have any suggestions. All right? All right. All right, thank you for the thumbs up, Gail and Colleen. All right, great to see you here. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go to my slides, and we're going to get down to it. All right. So many things happening at once. When we do this, zoom in on the screen using the scroll gesture. Okay, finding my slides, and in a second, or right now, hopefully, you should be seeing my little workshop slides. Fabulous, there they are. I'm so delighted. I was testing out, if you had the misfortune of seeing all my testing yesterday, it was not pretty. I had another software that I was trying to use and it did not work, but this one is working great. Okay, so create your FODMAP testing timeline. So just to backtrack for 2 seconds for people who might be new to the FODMAP diet, what does it mean to test FODMAPs? This is often called the challenge or the reintroduction phase. So what you're doing is you're systematically reintroducing each FODMAP category to test your personal tolerance. So the goal isn't just to cut out all FODMAPs for the rest of your life, because that's not necessary. The goal is to find out which ones truly trigger your IBS symptoms and which ones are actually okay for you to eat. And for most people, for 99% of people, after you go through this process, you're going to have so much more variety in your diet. It's going to be a lot more relaxed. And, you can kind of sort of feel like you can eat like a normal person again, which is pretty great after you kind of go into the whole overwhelm of the FODMAP diet. But the only way you can know what foods are going to work for you and in what portion sizes is if you go through this testing process. And that's what we're talking about in the mini workshop. So that's the really quick overview of testing FODMAPs. Okay, jumping right in. So I said we would cover what this really looks like, nuts and bolts. So how many days should you wait between test foods? There's a little bit of information about this online. I mean, I think this whole process is fairly, it's mysterious, and the goal here is to demystify it. But what you're gonna learn is that it's not one size fits all, okay? So there is definitely more than one option. All right, I'm just checking for any comments, making sure everything is working out totally groovy. I think it is. Okay. Okay, so how many days should you wait? You have 3 options, really. I mean, I guess there's endless variation, but these are the 3 ways to go about it. So option 1, every other day. So you're going to have a test food. You have a test food for each FODMAP category. So you're going to end up with 9 test foods. So you start out with your first one, and you start out with a small portion, then a medium portion, and then a large portion. And so for option 1, you would do that every other day. And I pretty much always recommend waiting at least 48 hours before moving on to a brand new test food. And this option is the one that I think most people should start with. It tends to work for most people, so it's a good starting point if you're not sure. All right, so who is this best for? People who typically notice IBS symptoms the same or the following day after eating a high FODMAP food. And, like I said again, that's most of us. This is a really good starting point. All right, but we have got option 2. So that option is to have your test food every 2 days. So you see the example there. So test day, 2 rest days, test day, 2 rest days. Waiting at least 48 hours before moving on to a new test food. All right, so I definitely will be taking your questions. So if this is kind of moving a little fast or you need clarification, make a note of it and we will do Q&A for sure. So this is just kind of spreading it out a little more. So this is best for people whose symptoms take longer to show up, and really people whose main symptom is constipation, because it's more slow moving and it takes longer to resolve. So if that's you, and you could also, you could start with option 1, kind of going every other day. And if that's not working, if your symptoms show up a little more slowly, if they linger a little longer, then you just move over to this every kind of second day model, option 2. Okay, there is still yet another option. See, it's definitely not one size fits all. So with option 3, you eat your test food on 3 consecutive days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you can wait 48 hours before moving on to the new test food, but you could even shorten that down to 24 hours. This doesn't work for many people. This is for people with that really fast gut motility, all right? That's kind of the fancy term for it. For people who things are just moving really fast. So people whose symptoms tend to show up within a few hours. Now, just kind of my little pro tip for you, because I can't help kind of giving you even more tips, even though I want to stick to the material. So symptoms from the test food that you just ate, they can't really show up right away. It needs to be at least a few hours because they have to get down to that large intestine and start fermenting, start causing, the gas and the bloating, and that just takes time. If you do feel symptoms almost immediately, it's something else that's going on. It's that your other parts, it's not a FODMAP reaction. Your body might be sensitive to that food, and it's sending those nerve signals to your brain and giving you pain or giving you symptoms, but the FODMAP reaction doesn't really happen right away. Just a little pro tip. But some people do experience it really quickly, and they can use option 3. Okay, so moving on to the next thing that we want to cover in the mini workshop. So when should you adjust your testing timeline? There are lots of scenarios for this. So let's get into it. You should adjust it if your symptoms are showing up faster or slower. So kind of like, I alluded to before, it's nice to start out with, obviously pick one, pick whatever you want to start with, but you can always change. I recommend when you move on to a new test food, then move on to sort of a different timeline from, one of the 3 options. So if you just feel that you need more time, if you're thinking that those symptoms, maybe they show up the day after and the next day, and it just kind of takes longer to play out, or if it's faster, then that's when you can adjust. If your symptoms are unresolved, so this is absolutely key, huge takeaway. You can always wait an extra day or 2 until your symptoms resolve. So really what you want to do is you have the test food, let's say it causes some symptoms. You feel kind of bad the next day, whatever your symptoms are, but it's just lingering, and you don't have to move on because your schedule says to test again. You tested Monday, well, you have to test Wednesday. No, you can definitely take an extra rest day because you want to be sort of feeling your best when you have a test food. You don't want to be already in distress because you won't really see a clear reaction from the test food. Okay, adjust your timeline if you've eaten other high FODMAP foods or a potentially triggering meal. So if I'm going out to dinner tonight, but I want to test beans the next day, maybe I should hold off. So, if I'm someone who, and this is me, this is actually true, if I know that I can't go to a restaurant without, sort of trying some tasty things that are probably not low FODMAP, then testing beans the next day wouldn't be a good idea because I might be having symptoms, reactions to the restaurant meal. So if you've, kind of like life gets in the way, and sometimes you end up eating not low FODMAP. So just take a break from testing for that time. Hold off for a day to make sure you're not getting any symptoms, or if you are, hold off until they resolve. And then a couple other times you should adjust if there's a stressful event or situation coming up. So an example would be if you've got a presentation at work on Wednesday, don't choose Wednesday to test a high FODMAP food. Especially if you're someone who, feels the stress. Most of us feel stress if you're going to do any kind of like public speaking, but if it's a situation like that where, you feel it in your stomach, you're stressed out, don't have your test food that day because it could, when you're feeling that way, almost any food sort of upsets your stomach, right? And then adjust if your testing results are unclear. So you can always try the same serving size again. So let's say I have a small serving of honey and I think maybe I got some symptoms, but maybe it was something else and I'm just not sure. Have the same thing again. So wait until you feel better, do the small serving again. So that's a really good time to adjust. There's nothing wrong with repeating or, starting with starting with a different portion size if you're a little bit sort of apprehensive about a specific food or FODMAP category. So you can always adjust that stuff too. Okay. It's always okay to take an extra rest day. So that's what I said. That was the one thing, maybe one of the most important takeaways. Take an extra rest day if you're not feeling well, if your symptoms aren't resolved, because you don't want to be testing FODMAPs when you're kind of already a bit of a mess, right? Makes sense. And it's always okay to redo a test food. So you don't have to redo it right away. So that example where I said you weren't sure what your reaction to honey was, maybe honey is just annoying you and you want to move on to the next food and you want to wait until the end. So you can kind of go back to any of these. You can revisit it. You can go through sort of all your foods, and then if there were some that you weren't sure about, revisit them after. So that is always perfectly okay. All right, so our third thing we were going to cover, how do you make this ridiculous thing? I've already kind of made it sound fairly complex, and it's really not. But how do you make it fit your schedule and your lifestyle? Okay, if you have a stressful 9 to 5, so this comes up a lot, but there's a great solution, and it's to do most of your testing on the weekend. So I've had clients who have specifically done this. So what you might want to do is start with a small portion on Wednesday or Thursday. We start small because that small portion is unlikely to cause a major reaction. If that tiny amount causes any reaction, that's a good indicator that you're very sensitive to that category. So you start with your small portion, maybe Thursday, so you don't have any bad symptoms during the work week, and then you're testing your larger portions over the weekend where you're not worried about anything interfering with your work. Okay, if you tend to relax your eating on the weekends, right? This happens to so many of us. It's like you're super good during the week and weekends are for fun. That's kind of me, so I get it. All right, so what you can do is you can make Monday an automatic rest day. If you know you're just a little more relaxed on the weekend, take that extra Monday to make sure you're not having any symptoms, you're back to feeling great, and start testing again on Tuesday. Don't test on days when you're eating socially. So kind of, we talked about this already. If I know I'm going out to dinner tonight, maybe I'll hold off on testing because at dinner, I'm going to be relaxed. I might be eating some high FODMAP foods. Or even just eating a big meal sometimes, even if it is low FODMAP, we eat differently when we're out or when it's a social situation. So you might want to hold off. And do best to minimize your symptoms. So I'm not encouraging you to go nuts on the weekend. You want to make sure you're still feeling, pretty good on Monday or Tuesday, but it's okay to relax sometimes. Okay, if you have a vacation or work travel coming up. So this is one of the biggest issues. People hesitate to start the whole reintroduction process because they're like, well, in a month I have a vacation. I travel for work every few weeks. Don't let that stuff hold you back. That's the most important thing. The most important thing is to just start. So if you do have travel, which can kind of just mess up your body in general, just take a break from testing. That's all you have to do. You're leaving on Friday, stop testing on Thursday, start right up again as soon as you get back. And while you're away, just, do your best to minimize symptoms. You don't have to be perfect, but you want to come back being in fighting form, all right? So it's always okay to take breaks. That's another takeaway. You do not have to do this process in an unbroken, uninterrupted chain of days, because who has 2 months of nothing to do, of no social obligations, no travel, no stress? It just doesn't happen, so it's okay to take breaks. All right? So now that's it. So this mini workshop was very narrowly focused. I just want to demystify the testing process and have you be able to really kind of get it down on a calendar, because when it looks realistic, when you actually see what you have to do day by day, I think it's easier to start because it's real. And when something is on a calendar, it's a lot more real. So pick your start date, all right? If you're at the point where it's time to do this, pick a start date, all right? It could be tomorrow, but it doesn't have to be tomorrow. But pick your date, and don't worry if there's other stuff going on. We went over how you can adjust your schedule, how you can take breaks. You know, if this went a little fast, kind of get your calendar out and go back through this video. You can watch the replay and just plan it out. And you don't have to plan out like the 8 or 10 weeks or however long it's going to take you to go through all the test foods. What I want you to do is just write out a schedule for the first 2 to 3 weeks. So maybe, you know, think of the first 2 foods that you're going to test and write out a schedule for that. Because you might modify it, you know, you might take an extra day if you're having symptoms or if something else is going on, but pick your start date and write out the schedule of your first 2 to 3 weeks using all these tips and guidelines, all right? So action, action, and then tell me how it goes, all right? And tell me your start date. Okay, if you want more support to test FODMAPs, and this is actually my last slide, so I am going to come back on camera, hopefully. Trying to come back on camera. Don't know if I can. All right. Hang on a second, guys. All right, I hope you have your questions ready. Awkwardly trying to figure out my software here. They did an update, so it's kind of different. Entire screen. No. Current application. No. Alright. I got it. I got it. We're saved. Okay. Julie figured out her new software, so I hope you're clapping for me out there wherever you are. Alright. Alright, guys. So, where were we? If you want more support to do the FODMAP diet. Alright. So if you got, my technology stress is endless, guys. Alright, if you got a lot of value from this free mini workshop, but you want a personalized plan and support to do the reintroduction phase, then my Find Your IBS Triggers coaching package is the way to go. All right. So in this coaching package, I work with you one-on-one, and I customize this whole process to fit your life. So you don't have to figure this out on your own. But most importantly, I make sure that you know how to use all this knowledge that you've gained from testing FODMAPs to create your lifetime eating style. So all this effort pays you back for a very, very long time. And your lifetime eating style means that you feel confident and relaxed around food, and you're not policing and stressing over every bite and wondering what might happen if you mess up. You know what foods trigger your symptoms and which ones don't. And you kind of take all this information from testing and turn it into a lifetime eating style. And I have tools and resources to help you do this, and of course, I take you through it personally. All right, so if my relaxed, practical approach to the FODMAP diet resonates with you, if you got a lot out of this workshop and you were ready to take action, I would love to work with you. All right, so I'm gonna put a link on the screen, and it's just a page on my website that gives you all the details, all the information about the Find Your Triggers coaching package. So you see what it includes, how long it is, you can read testimonials from past clients, so everything is there, all the information at that link. And so you would just type it in exactly how it is on the screen. It's kind of weird, it's bit.ly/IBS-triggers. And I'm gonna put it in the comment section as well. So there'll be a clickable link in the comment section in just a second. All right, so all the details are there. If you want more support, if you want to work with me, if you like how I do things, and it's not about one size fits all, then check out Find Your IBS Triggers. All right, I'm happy to answer questions about coaching, and I am opening it up to all of your questions. So what questions do you have about the workshop, about testing in general? I am here as long as you've got questions. So lay it on me. I'm just putting, let's see if I can put that link into the comment box. And I'll give you a second to type out your questions. Where's the video? But yeah, if you didn't have your, you weren't able to like take notes or have a Word doc open, then watch the replay. I want you to really take action on this stuff. Gail said, "Thanks for all your time and effort to help us." Thank you so much, Gail. That's so sweet. I sincerely appreciate that. You can ask me any FODMAP questions too. You've got me here. Learn all the details. And Calm Belly TV will be back next week on Wednesday. Wednesday is our regular day, but Tuesday worked better for this special mini workshop. Okay, I put that link into the comment box. What questions do you guys have? Okay, Carla said, "I struggle to know what really affects my IBS. It never seems to be consistent." Okay, Carla, have you tried the reintroduction process, doing it like really systematically, like one FODMAP category at a time? Tell me where you're at, and I can sort of maybe guide you slightly. Hi, Jenny. Good to see you. Yeah, Carla, give me more info, and I'll see if I can, kind of based on where you are. If you're in the elimination phase, but you're not getting the improvement you want, that's sort of a different story. It kind of depends on a lot of factors. You just want to make sure that there are no sneaky FODMAPs that you're not aware of, that you might be missing. Kind of like go over everything, go back to reading the ingredients on everything. Keep a food journal just to look for any patterns. Look at the other factors that can affect your digestion. Stress is probably the biggest one, but if that's where you are and you're just trying to get to a place of feeling a lot better, a lot more consistent, you have to look at all that other stuff. Hey, Jenny. All right. All right, guys. Well, I am going to wrap it up. If you think of questions as soon as this is over, then please put them in the chat. Tag me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Did Carla comment again? And if you have ideas for future Calm Belly TV episodes, you can, leave them in the Facebook group and tag me anytime. Leave them in the comments, because I do this to answer the most common questions that I get from you guys. It is all for you, so let me know what you want to know about. Topics, it can be on any part of the FODMAP diet, or even slightly off the FODMAP diet, All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me live. Oh, I think I got Carla. I'm still at the beginning. Just found out IBS might be what I have. Sometimes one food item might affect me, sometimes doesn't. It's really hard when you're starting out, Carla. I would say give it time just to kind of get used to the idea. So, and make sure that, you might think it's a particular food, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's just a really big meal that can really be have a big impact on you. So I would do that, and then think about like, when do those symptoms show up? So I kind of said at the beginning, a FODMAP reaction doesn't usually show up right away. It's going to be at least a few hours, usually 4 to 6 hours for the average person. You know, some people are faster and some people are slower. And really, Carla, like for the beginning, so you're doing the elimination phase in the beginning, focus on just learning about how to take FODMAPs out of your diet as much as possible and seeing where that leaves you. You know, just kind of look at the bigger picture. And doing this, it doesn't mean you'll be completely symptom-free. Most people aren't. Most people experience like a 75% improvement, but if you experience a 50% improvement in your symptoms, that's awesome. And that can make a huge difference in your life. So kind of keep going for a little while and kind of try to see the big picture after a few weeks. It does take a little time. It takes time to adjust. I'm still testing things out from FODMAP. I have hormone issues. Okay, that can be hard, which I don't know how much they play a role in my stomach problems. You know, hormones do play a big role, and it's, you know, the most common example is how your hormones fluctuate throughout the month. But with that issue, you know, I don't know how much, if you're on medication, if that regulates it a little bit, but they can definitely play some role. And yeah, just for this beginning, don't think of it as sort of testing foods and looking for culprits. Try to cut everything out and see how you feel. Is there a big improvement? You know, you want to make sure that you are truly sensitive to FODMAPs so that doing this whole process is actually going to benefit you. So it's hard for me to kind of give you advice without knowing more history, but that's what I would do. I would start slow, try to eliminate everything, and see where that leaves you after 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, I hope that helped. I know it's so hard to start out. It's so hard. Okay, thank you so much to the live viewers. Again, if you want personal help and support to do the reintroduction phase, go to that link that is on the screen. Check out the coaching package. All the details are there. And if you are just starting out, I have a coaching package for beginners for the elimination phase. So it's called Feel Better Fast, and that's on my website as well. All right, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're watching the replay, thank you. And I will see you soon. Bye.